All right, we're gonna go on a little swimmy swim. Think I might try to get to the reef over there. It's like maybe 400 meters out or so. Haven't done that in a while. Might give that a go. But it's gonna be a relaxed one today. These are mornings in the grow. Let's do it.
I'm waiting for something to change. 'Cause when I'm not here, it's like I'm falling. And I don't know why I feel pain. 'Cause when I'm not here, I keep on falling.
There's a turtle, but it's so much faster than me. Couldn't catch him. I think he likes those little jellyfish things. I don't know what they are, but I don't like swimming in them. I think the turtle likes to eat them. I think they're like little jellyfish thingies. I don't know. Not too far back, too far out. The reef is over here somewhere. We're close. Morning, Billy.
So I feel safe and sound. Yeah, I can't forget. I keep searching. Need you to be found. So I feel safe and sound. I've been hiding out for days next to
you guys enjoyed that little break, that little swim break, if you will. Next up, we got some drone shots from a sunset, I think like 2 days ago or so. So a few more minutes, then we'll get back to the program here. Enjoy. What's going on, everybody? Happy Sunday. I hope you all are doing well. I've had a good weekend so far, starting a little bit late, but it's been, as always, busy, I guess. I can't even use that as an excuse anymore, but had to get it in. And hopefully next Sunday we can be back to our normal time. But I'm, again, happy to be able to do this, and happy you all showed up. We got a quick one in yesterday, which was a replacement for the Friday ThropX streams that we're doing. So, if I don't make it on a particular day, we'll definitely try to make up for it somehow, some way. And today we are talking about, I don't know if you saw in the description, we got 3 articles I want to go through, which I thought they were pretty pertinent to kind of where we are and what we're talking about as it relates to Jamaica moving forward and opportunities that are being created by investments being made by the government and then also the private sector. And even though we, what would I say? We, like the last few streams, we were kind of talking about some, I was going to say impending doom, but that's not definitely not the terminology I want to use, but just some challenges that are being faced in the financial and real estate sector of the United States and how it could be potentially affect Jamaica. And that's what we've been talking about the last few streams. But again, I continue to think that there's still going to continue to be, no matter what type of market that we're facing, there is always somebody winning. There is always a company moving forward and taking advantage of whatever the current market position or circumstances are. So we want to continue to discuss this and bring forward like the most relevant topics that are happening, relevant things that are going on here on the ground. And to start with, as always, please let me know where you're chiming in from, what city, what state, what country. Always appreciate it. So while you all do that, I just want to bring up the articles that we're going to be talking about today, and then we'll have a little discussion. So let's go into order that we're going to be talking about them. And we're going to do, definitely, okay, we're going to start off with education. Yeah, let's start off with education, then we'll get into public health, and then I got a couple of others lined up, depending on how much time it takes us to get through these. So we got education, public health, and some real estate, of course. Let me pull that up so you can know exactly what we're going to be getting into. All right, so these are the articles right here. So this is the first one. This was the Gleaner, in the Gleaner. This came out today. That is, might not Jamaica's education system could a little typo they got here, build more minds, not just buildings. I think that's what it's meant to say. And we'll go through that. And then the next is big news in public health. Essentially, Jamaica has its own medical oxygen plant. And I believe this is, not believe, I'm sure it's in response to what we went through during COVID and not being able to have access to oxygen. I don't know if people are aware of that. But that was a huge challenge during COVID, is we didn't have enough oxygen. And now the government has made an investment in our own oxygen plant here, which I think is huge. And then the last article is talking about Kingston Properties increasing local assets with a downtown Kingston acquisition. And so those are 3 articles I want to focus on today. And let me know, we can stick on, hang on as long as we want to with these subjects and these articles. And these, I have 3 more. This is one talking about the Jamaica suffering like an increase in cyber attacks, our attempts, and just interesting. We had on, I forget his name. We had on a gentleman. He has a cybersecurity company, our AI company, but he also focuses on cybersecurity. And I think that's going to continue to be a priority for not just Jamaica, but just the global market in general is cybersecurity. But glad to know that this is a a priority. Another article: only Bank of America takes cash from Jamaica. BOJ links foreign exchange spread to lack of service providers, and this definitely has some domino effects. So we can, if we have time, we can get into these last three, and then the last article is unfulfilled trade potential in parting shot. Outgoing ambassador says EU Jamaica deal failing to deliver. Essentially, we'll go into in detail if we have time, but essentially the article is saying, and what the former EU head is saying, that Jamaica has not reached its trading potential with the European Union, and there is a lot to be to be I would say taking advantage of that Jamaica hasn't done, and then it goes into it. And there's a couple of I almost want to do a standalone, maybe not live stream, but a video on like subject matters of that nature, essentially talking about just missed opportunity and potential that Jamaica has globally. And this is really going off of a report that I read from the oh man, I forget the name of the organization. Let me see if I can look it up real quick. Uh, tu- 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 tu. The International Finance Corporation. I think it would put out a report, I think in 2022, I want to say. Very, very interesting stuff. But it just talks about like Jamaica's lack of competition and just a lot of bureaucratic policies that are in place that are holding the country back. Really, really interesting report that I think speaks to a lot of or at least compartmentalizes in a very succinct way a lot of the challenges that we talk about from a ground level day-to-day basis, and it just like lays it out in very, very simple terms and puts numbers to like the anecdotal observations that we've been having over these years. So very, very interesting report that we might, if we don't do it live, I'll definitely do a standalone video on it. But it goes hand in hand with what the outgoing EU head is saying with Jamaica about just fail potential of like having good policies and also agreements in place, but not really executing on them efficiently. So we'll see if we have time. Anyway, let's get to the comments before we hop into it. What's going on? And good to see you. Hi, Donna. Donna says, happy Sunday, Throp and Throppers from hot and humid Ottawa. Happy belated birthday to your brother. Thank you very much. I'll be sure to let him know. Aaliyah, good to see you. Says, good evening. It's been a hot minute. It definitely has. Leon Wallace, good to see you. Thank you. Leon Wallace, good to see you. Thanks for joining. Cassia Price, hey man, what's up? That looks like fun. Happy Sunday from North Carolina. Good to see you. Sherry Case, hi Throppers. Happy Sunday from Florida. Good to see you. What's going on, Jeff? Chiming in from Montreal. Michael, good to see you. Norma Davis says, good afternoon, everyone. Throp, you got me worried. What I got you worried about? Let me know. Joe, what's going on? Hello, Throp and Throppers from NYC. Good to see you, Joe. Thanks for being on. Donna Bryce says, I have the Coca La Palm webcam on my desktop from my Negro Beach Fix. Awesome, awesome. Donna also says, in the kitchen making oxtail spring rolls for dinner while I watch a stream. Oh man, that sounds really amazing. I don't think I've had oxtail spring rolls. We had oxtail mac and cheese yesterday at my brother's birthday get together, which was very nice. I don't know if I've ever had that before. It tasted excellent. Oxtail spring roll sounds very interesting and super tasty. Jeff, what's going on? Chiming in from Alberta. Any word on where the new Princess Hotel is getting water from with the water issues in the grill? I would presume Logwood, but I could be totally wrong. I could be totally wrong on that. I can try to find out. And they're supposed to be opening next month, actually. So we'll We'll see. We'll see. Hopefully, I can find out that information. Shouldn't be too hard to find out, actually. Simone, greetings all on this beautiful Sunday in Atlanta. Good to see you. What's going on, Sean? A happy Sunday to you as well. Anthony Hyatt, and thank you and shout outs to all the channel members. Thank you all so much. Really, really appreciate your support and my Patreons. Thank you so much, all of you. It really does help out tremendously, tremendously. So I can't thank you all enough for your contribution and commitment. Thank you so much, you all of you. So Anthony Height says, blessed day Thrive checking in from White Plains, Westchester. Awesome. Copeland Russell says, Florida in the house. Thank God our PM Jamaica is on the move. Sure, Dean says, chiming in from cloudy Fort Lauderdale. Kimberly on Facebook over there says, hello, been a minute. How's the power situation there now on the island? I was just reading an article that JPS has most of St. Elizabeth online with electricity, and they're going to meet. I don't even know what the deadline is, but they say they're going to meet their time deadline as far as restoring electricity to everybody there. So coming along, and if you saw the stream yesterday, we were I won't go into it, but basically we read the article and an article talking about Jamaica forecasting at the Fed, the Bank of Jamaica, has forecasted that there's going to be a contraction in 2025, and it was based off of the impact of Hurricane Beryl on Jamaica. And it was very apparent to me that something of that nature was going to come out, because even here, and I gave the example of my friend who is doing a construction. He's building a villa on the West End, and just a few weeks after Hurricane Beryl, like, we were having our electricity go in and out, and it was very disruptive for him. And this is one project because the electricity went out, and he had a group of his guys who were coming from out of town, and they got here, electricity's out, they couldn't work, had to go back. And so just extrapolate that out to however many projects or different types of businesses there of not having electricity, and also those guys didn't get paid for that day, and it slows down the economy tremendously. It's like having these disruptions in construction, in the hotel business. Even from a perception standpoint, Jamaica has gone through a hurricane. The amount of people who have contacted me the days, weeks, and even a month plus after Burl has left us, people are asking me, is it okay? Is it safe? So many people contacted me, should I cancel my trip? And I'm like, no, like, you coming down here in the weeks after, of course, now as a guest, as somebody, a visitor to the country, you'll be none the wiser. It is not going to affect your hotel, more or less, I would say, depending on where you're staying. And most especially if you're staying at one of these all-inclusive hotels, the services are going to be pretty much top-notch, what you would normally expect. What it is affecting is, like, it's affecting the internal microeconomics of Jamaica. It's affecting the person going to work. We had many of our staff for weeks and weeks and weeks who didn't have electricity in their homes, so they don't have a fan to sleep with, the mosquitoes, because they have to sleep with their windows open, and we talked about the emotional and even physical toll that it's taking on individuals. And then again, we extrapolate that out to large numbers and large groups of people. It's going to have a social effect, and then, of course, eventually an economic effect. So when we, again, going back to the article of talking about the economic contraction that is being predicted, expected, projected, forecasted for 2025, it all has to do with that. And, and it has to do with the disruptions. And again, it's like, I can't imagine if we got a direct hit. And unfortunately, St. Elizabeth took the brunt of the hit of Hurricane Beryl. And they're going to take years to come back from that, and this is one parish, this is one location. And then there's other parts. And like Negril, for example, like, it's going to take us months. And even, again, from a perception standpoint, we got to also take that into consideration, is that some people think that we got destroyed, kind of thing. And imagine imagine they didn't have me as a boots on the ground person to give them solid and accurate information like, hey, no, it's good, you're okay. Maybe they'll just see something on the internet and they just go with it and they're like, hey, I'm going to cancel my trip, it's not worth it, me going. And that affects the local economy, that affects the flights coming in, that affects the hotels, transportation, food and restaurants people could have gone to and spent money with. So it all affects the economy, and this is going to have a laggard effect. And this is a part of the prediction that is coming out, or the forecasting that has been put out by the Bank of Jamaica. And with that, they also cut rates by 25 basis points, and 0.25, and that's supposed to help the economy a little bit. And some people, particularly in the corporate sector, are saying that it's happening too late and it should be by more. But of course, when you cut rates too fast or by too large of an amount, you could there's a potential of causing inflation. So I'm no economist by any means. I just know a little bit about something, a little bit. So and we're okay. We're doing okay, coming along. Kind of rice, oxtail mac and cheese. Let's just definitely is. I got to try those oxtail spring rolls though. Norma Davis says, I thought you were coming on. I was looking for 2 p.m. Weren't coming on and looking for you 2 p.m. I know. Late start today, but we're gonna get back to our normal time in the next few weeks. Vivine says, I thought I'd never know you were coming on. Glad you're here. Thank you. Happy to be here. Philip Taylor, greetings throughout Canada and the Northwest Territories. Heg says, I love your channel. I am Shanique, watching from Bulls Bay. Awesome. Thanks for chiming in. And shout outs to Bulls Bay. Vito, what's going on? I don't know how I haven't subscribed to you. My apologies. You earned it. Appreciate that. And if you're not subscribed, why not? Hit that subscribe button. TDC says, Throp, was it Adrian Dunkley of Star Apple? No, it wasn't him. Hold on, let me go to I should know this, right? As he's been a guest on here a couple of times. I'm just checking my channel here. He did. So he came on the live stream, and then he was also a guest at when I went to the International Real Estate Conference. Sorry, guys. I'm just scrolling through here. It's going to bother me. And now, of course, I can't find it. Yeah, I might have to let this one go. Or maybe I'll try to find it on the break and let you know exactly who he is, unless somebody can give me that reminder real quick. All right, keep rolling here. Cheryl says, hi, Throppers. Happy Sunday from Guyana. Awesome. Guyana in the building. Chelsea Clinton says, good afternoon, Throp. Good to see you. Thank you, Daniel. Crimson Tide. Thank you. That's the name of the company. Crimson Tide. Jay Fitz. Thank you, Crimson Tide. Thank you all very much. Appreciate it. That's the name of the company, the AI company. Donna Bryce says, I saw the brilliant video done by Irina as she went through parish by parish to check the post-barrel impact. Your part in the video was informative. I'm watching it. I still haven't even got up to my part yet. I'm still watching it. But yes, everybody go and watch that. She has done a phenomenal job in putting that basically a documentary. She did like a full-on documentary. And I think these are the kind of pieces of content that we're really going to appreciate in many, many years from now. I'm throwing it in the comment section if you haven't seen it already. Well worth it. Ati, what's going on? Watching from the usual spot in Brooklyn with the fam. Awesome. Hello, fam. Good to see you. Thanks for coming on. Gregory Alberto says, hi, Throp. Happy Sunday. Happy Sunday to you as well. Thanks for joining. Sherry says, remember to hit the like button, Throppers. Please do. Cass's Price says, no problems at the hotels. My son was at Hyatt Ziva 2 weeks ago. He and his girlfriend had a great time, no issues. I was in Upper Trelawney, Rock Springs specifically. Lights back on 9/12. Jan R says, Irene. Yeah, same with me. She is a gem. She's a huge gem and a crazy asset to Jamaica in so many ways. So yeah, check that out. And then before we get into the article, also I put out another, I guess you could say, I can't show it here because it has, hold on, please don't play. It has what you call it? It has music we can't use. I don't have it'll get copyright flagged. So I'm just gonna throw it in the comment section there and you guys can take a look. It's just short, it's 1 minute. It's just promoting ThropX and letting everybody know what that's all about, and that's coming out. I think we're gonna put it out on Instagram tomorrow, if I'm not mistaken. All right, cool. We got everything that we wanted to talk about. Let's get into the first article immediately. Okay, so this one is on education. I feel like we're gonna be on this one for a bit, just because I'm just really passionate about education in a big way. And so this one was written and published in the Jamaica Gleaner, the Gleaner. And it was written by, I'm assuming it was Dennis Minot. Yeah, I'm assuming it was. Let's make sure. Yeah, it looks like it. All right. And it came out today, August 25th. And the name of the article is Dennis Minot, Jamaica's education system could build minds, not just buildings. Yeah, they got to fix that typo. But I'm going to throw it in the comment section there. And you can read along and we will have a discussion afterwards. As Jamaica approaches the start of a new school year in September, the focus on rebuilding schools damaged by Hurricane Beryl highlights a recurring challenge in the nation's education system. While infrastructure improvements are necessary, they often overshadow the critical need for comprehensive education policy reform. Infrastructure trap. The cyclical nature of the issue is evident in political slogans like Goat Island schools built by labor, rebuilt by comrades. This pattern of successive administrations prioritizing visible improvements to school buildings over less tangible but equally crucial aspects of educational policy has become a hallmark of Jamaica's approach to education. However, this emphasis on physical reconstruction comes at a cost. As authorities focus on restoring damaged facilities, education, guidance, and policy development are often regulated to low priority status. The consequences of the imbalanced approach are reflected in the disappointing outcomes of high school examinations like CS, CSEC, and CAPE, and suggesting that improved buildings alone are insufficient to ensure quality education and student performance. Beyond bricks and mortar. To transform Jamaica's education system, a more holistic approach is needed. This should include curriculum reform aligned with global standards and local needs, enhanced teacher training and professional development programs, implementation of innovative teaching methodologies, integration of technology in education, development of robust assessment and feedback systems, strategies to address socioeconomic factors affecting student performance, visionary leaders. It's worth noting that several past leaders have understood and grasped the importance of comprehensive education reform. Edwin Allen, Bertrand Whitman, Omar Davies, Edward Siaga, Neville Gallimore, Ronald Thwaites, Peter Phillips, and PJ Patterson demonstrated a keen understanding of the need to prioritize education policy alongside infrastructure development. Mission of Education Minister. The role of an education minister extends far beyond overseeing the construction and maintenance of school buildings. Their mission should encompass developing comprehensive education policies, addressing curriculum development and implementation, improving teacher training and support, enhancing assessment methods, ensuring equitable access to quality education, breaking the cycle. As Jamaica faces the dual challenges of post hurricane reconstruction and the start of the new school year, now is time to break the cycle. The nation must place equal emphasis on both physical and intellectual aspects of education. This requires a paradigm shift from focusing mainly on buildings to building minds. By prioritizing comprehensive education policy reform alongside infrastructure development, Jamaica can hope to see significant improvements in educational outcomes. This balanced approach will better prepare students for the challenges of the 21st century and contribute to the nation's overall development. The future of Jamaica's youth depends not just on the strength of their school buildings, but on the strength of the education system as a whole. It's time for Jamaica to invest in building minds, not just buildings, and create an education system that empowers citizens and drives national progress. Stay on mission. Chief Education Officer, stay on mission. Permanent Secretary, stay on mission. Compassionate Minister. What are some successful examples of countries that have prioritized education policy over infrastructure? Showing rather than telling. Several countries have successfully prioritized education policy and reform over simply focusing on infrastructure with notable results. Finland stands out as a prime example of prioritizing comprehensive education policy reform. Since the 1970s, Finland has taken a holistic approach to focused on equality, teacher quality, and student well-being rather than just buildings or just our technology. Key elements of Finland's success include getting the right people to become teachers through selective admissions to teacher education programs, developing teachers into effective instructors through high quality preparation and support, ensuring every student receives excellent instruction by focus on equality across schools. Despite spending less per student than the US average, Finland has achieved top rankings on international assessments like PISA, with remarkably low variability in performance across schools. China has also made infrastructure strides through policy reforms since the early 2000s, transforming its education system through a focus on equality and access to education for all citizens, improving quality and productivity of education, enhancing efficiency as a national priority, using education to support national development and global competitiveness. China implemented reforms across basic education, teacher education, and higher education simultaneously. This comprehensive policy approach helped China rapidly improve its education system. Estonia provides another example of prioritizing policy over infrastructure alone. Estonia has taken a unitary approach with one national body responsible for education and services throughout early childhood and primary education. Unified governance has allowed for more coherent policymaking and implementation. Some key lessons from these examples include taking a holistic system-wide approach to education reform rather than piecemeal changes, focusing on teacher quality and support as a core driver of educational improvement, ensuring quality, equity, and access across all schools and regions, aligning education policy with broader national development goals, creating coherent government structures to develop and implement reforms. While infrastructure remains important, these countries demonstrate how prioritizing comprehensive policy reform can lead to significant education improvements, even without massive infrastructure investments. The focus is on making the most effective use of existing resources through smart policies and practices. The populations of Finland, China, Estonia, Bhutan, and Costa Rica, respectively, are as follows. Finland, approximately 5.5 million. China, 1.4 billion. Estonia, 1.3 million. Bhutan, approximately 800,000. Costa Rica, 5.2. Oops, I gotta put my focus on real here. Can I call? Bhutan, what was I? Bhutan, approximately 800,000. Costa Rica, approximately 5.2 million, excuse me. Stay on mission, compassionate officials. To the mission, a National Works Agency Plus. And Dennis Minot, PhD, is the CEO of AQSter Fair. He is a multilingual green resource specialist, a physicist, and a modest mathematician who worked in the oil and energy sector. So I thought that this was an important article to read for sure. But then also, I think what the author is saying and the approach that he's looking to make on education is, I feel like you need to there has to be an element of both. And you know, to try to do this, what he's requesting in a short period of time, of like shifting the focus from rebuilding for Hurricane Beryl, from the hurricane, to like reform. Maybe it is a good time to like start having that conversation. I know that they've already been talking about doing education reform, but in the broader spectrum of things, like, it comes down to like the value that we as a nation bring to like our nation and the world as a whole, right? And I always think, especially like when we come to like the here and now, right? And we talk about a lot on this channel about how do we create or give the opportunity for individuals, the average Jamaican, to create a better lives for themselves, their children, and future generations. We talk about, hey, we need to increase the minimum wage here, so the average person has a little bit more money in their pockets, which I agree with, right? But at the same time, in doing so, there has to be, I think, a real focus on also increasing the value that individual person brings to the table. And that table could be the societal table, that could be the table of the company that they work for, that could be the table of their family. And so that is like kind of like where my mind goes. And I would say, if I were to give a reason why I'm so passionate about education, because to me, education is the gateway facilitator to create, or at least give the opportunity to create a more high value, impactful society. And so it's like, you're paying somebody, let's just use some just fictitious numbers here. Like, say you're paying somebody $5 an hour, and the idea is that that person is bringing $5 per hour worth of value to the industry, to the market, and it could be anything, right? And maybe somebody who has a tertiary education, they are being paid $100 per hour, because they are bringing, at least the market value of that person based on their education and perhaps even past experience, they're bringing $100 worth of value to the market and to the industry, to the nation. And to me, it's not saying like, hey, that person has a degree and the first person doesn't have a degree and they should automatically be paid more. The assumption is because they're educated, they have a higher skill level, they may be a more effective, they may be more committed, they may be able to learn better, or at least the perception of having a formal education gives you that initially. I think that the person who doesn't have the education, who's getting that $5 per hour, and the market is valuing them at $5 per hour, I think there is a lot of opportunity, at least in the world that we live in today, for that person to become far more valuable than the $5 that they're being paid on their very own merit. Although it takes a lot of discipline, I would say, to make themselves more valuable. And I think we live in a world and in a time where we've never had these opportunities before, where there is no longer this gatekeeper of saying, hey, you have to have a college degree in order to earn X amount of money. We're living in a world that if you can prove that you can get the job done, and you're good at whatever it is that you're going to do, there's going to be an exchange for your value and the services that you bring to the table. I think social media is one of specifically the creative industry is one of the greatest examples of this. If you, as a young person, let's focus on young people for a second here. If you are a young person and you are very knowledgeable when it comes to social media, or maybe you're great at creating TikTok videos, or maybe you're not at this point, but you can become great at it, and you can become really good at these technologies and graphic design and video editing. And nobody, like, especially like even a hotel or a business, like nobody's gonna say, hey, do you have a marketing degree, do you have a graphics design degree? I'll need to see that in order for you to work for me, in order for me to pay you XYZ. Nobody cares. Can you get the job done is ultimately what it comes down to. And it was never like this before. It was never like this before. And like my mind always like tinkers with like, how do we like get this shift in the mind, and this paradigm shift, as particularly for young people, that we're living in a highly opportune times when it comes to technology and to also creating opportunities for yourself. And so, and I'm getting way off topic here, but that is just like we're like ultimately like what I'm fundamentally trying to say is that like how do we make our society, the working part of our society, bring more value to the market? How do we make us as individuals more valuable? And it's also recognizing that value from the perspective of entrepreneurs, of corporate Jamaica, perhaps. But like, is that do we have a pipeline of high value and I was going to say intellectual, but like high value intellectuals who are bringing a skill set to the market and to the table that we are looking for as business owners, or perhaps you as somebody who is starting up a company and you're looking for certain skill sets that you yourself may not have, but then when you go to the market, you can't find it. You can't find it. And so sometimes many businesses, even now, are using this global internet gig economy to their advantage. And when we can't find the skill sets here in Jamaica, we go outwards. Or perhaps you can find the skill set here, but it's not necessarily as advanced or effective as you would like it to be. And so you can go to a market that is cheaper, but you're getting more value, right? And this is where my mind goes, is like, how do we make ourselves as a society way more valuable? And I like that this is like the takeaway from this article, I would say, even though he was talking about education reform and everything like that. And yeah, I think that's the crux of it. And we do need to focus on education and the reform, but it's like the whole system. Like we do need better classrooms. I did the video at Negril Primary the other day, and they were just talking about how the school is extremely overcrowded and they need more classrooms. And like it's a fact. It's a fact. And it's just such a hard, very difficult. I know this is one school, but it's a very difficult learning environment to be in, where there are 5 classrooms separated by chalkboards that are on wheels, and the sound is traveling across all of these classrooms. Like, very difficult to concentrate and focus. It's also, granted, I was there in the summer, but still, it was boiling hot. It was boiling hot in there. And let's not even get into like the social aspects of it, of being able to afford to get a taxi to come to school, to have lunch money, and you can't learn on an empty stomach. We all know that. We all know that. And so it's like it's multifaceted, the problem and the challenges that are faced with the education system. It's not just policy, it's not just curriculum. It's everything from like, when it rains, can the kid get out of their lane to get a bike taxi to come to the main road to get to school? And it all matters. Like, it's like missing a day of school, it compounds over time. It compounds tremendously. When I was growing up, we were the kids, we never missed school. My dad, oh man, he was just such a stickler. Like, you have to go to school. Like, we had to be sick not to go to school. And we were never one of those kids, like, if you're sneezing, like, we're going to stay home. Like, we had to be sick to the point where we were going to, so contagious, we were going to get the other kids sick, right? Fever, chicken pox, blah, blah, blah. And there's a lot of merit to that, and I appreciated my dad for that, because it also, even from like a routine standpoint of going to bed early, getting up, putting your books in your bag before the night before, teaches you preparation, teaches you getting ready for the next day. And the exam time is a whole nother mindset that you have to get yourself into. And so, like, again, thinking back to thinking of the current challenges that the education system faces, it's not just the education system per se itself. It's also a lot of things outside of that. It's like getting these kids to school consistently. Negril has a great program through the Negril Rotary Club and the Mary Gate of Heaven Church and St. Anthony's Soup Kitchen in downtown Negril. And they recognize this very early. They must be 10 plus years they've been doing this now, that the attendance of kids going to school was just so inconsistent. And a lot of it came down to affordability of so many things. Affordability, again, I mentioned transportation, taking a taxi for these kids to get to school, the school uniforms, the books, the shoes. And they saw all these isolated challenges and they addressed them directly. So now what they did, they bought a bus, and part of this Get This Kids to School program is they literally get the kids to school. What they notice after that, and this is like just data that they're taking in, is that the kids aren't having breakfast and they're going to school hungry. And then on top of that, they can't afford lunch. So what did they do? They had a breakfast program. And so now the kids come in early, they have breakfast at St. Anthony's Soup Kitchen, then they get into the bus, and then they take into school. On top of that, again, the challenges that they had with getting their school uniform, they opened up a shop at St. Anthony's Soup Kitchen, and they have people donate money, so they have school uniform, shoes, uniform, and everything that they get. There's donations for school books, and it's like this. And this is one little town, right? This is one little Negril town. These are a handful of schools, and I know that if we're facing these challenges here, there are so many other communities in Jamaica facing those same challenges, but don't necessarily have a Negro Rotary Club or St. Anthony's Soup Kitchen or Mary Gate of Heaven Church to really focus on these things. And you take out one of those pillars of help that those students are getting, and it slowly starts to fall apart, and then all of a sudden, like, oh, the bus breaks down or the bus isn't there. The mother can't afford to give taxi fare to the kid to go to school. And then they're missing like a day a week of school, 2 days a week of school. And mind you, many of these schools are on the split time schedule. So these kids are going, literally half a day to school, some of them, where there's a morning shift and then the afternoon shift. And it's like you're cutting the education time spent in education under the guys in half. Plus, you're adding in the challenges of even going to school in the first place. And this is like, what kind of society do we expect to have in 10 or 20 years from now if we're not putting and making the investments now further down, or I would say further upstream? And so, again, this is where my mind goes when it comes to reforming education. It's not just a school, it's like a societal problem, societal challenges as well. And when we think, again, going back to like my whole premise here of the focus on making ourselves as a society more valuable individualistically, it's like, all right, how do we do this? How do we ramp this up quicker? And education reform is going to take too long. It's going to take way, 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 way too long, because it has to go through all these bureaucratic hula hoops that they're going to have to. It's going to have to happen, but it's going to take a while. And I'm like, man, how do we do this in a way where we can focus on the young people? When I say young people, young adults, 20 to 30, maybe 20 to 35, and make them and give them skills that are immediately valuable to companies and to entrepreneurs and society as a whole, right? And I continue to go back to even media and what I'm doing, like everything that I know right now that I've learned in this whole YouTube journey, that I know about camera equipments, editing, audio, visual, lighting. I learned all on my own through YouTube University, and it's free. But how do we get across to young people or people in general that there is great value in investing tremendous amounts of time of learning these skills? And it could be, you know, and maybe, and I'm not trying to make an excuse here, but I'm just trying to more so bring understanding. And maybe these young people don't necessarily have the discipline to sit on their phone instead of going to Instagram and TikTok to watch just hours and hours of YouTube videos of learning how to edit or learning how to become a creator on a $50 smartphone and how that could change their life. Um, and I will acknowledge that that is probably the advantage that I had, is that even though I knew nothing about filmmaking, being a creator, nothing about YouTube, and I did have the patience and the discipline to sit down and learn, but that also came, that development of patience and particularly discipline came with probably 20 years of schooling. And what I mean is like 20 years, I'm like literally going to school at 2 to 18, plus going to college, plus getting my MBA. And in order pass and do well. Definitely wasn't an A student by any means, but I was a decent student. But in order to even be a decent student, that takes discipline. That takes me to be able to sit here for hours at a time and just look at a book or sit down and write an essay or whatever have you, whatever school assignment that there is. And you take that same discipline and you apply it to learning how to be a YouTuber, learning how to use a camera, learning about cameras, and then having ambition to like, how do I use this to make a little bit of money so I can buy more and better equipment, sort of thing. So anyway, um, to me, that is like the way to like ramp things up, particularly for young people, is like making them be more valuable, and in not making them be more valuable, but like seeing and having them as young people taking that accountability and say and realizing that you're probably like nobody is really going to come to help you, or at least that shouldn't be your expectation, right? And the mindset should be like, how do I become more valuable for the company that I'm working for, or for the skill set that I am currently at a level 2 at, how do I become a level 10, right? And you, in my mind at least, you will be rewarded for that, either by someone else or a company that you would work for, or a client that you work for, or you're starting your own business, or you're creating a service that you can bring this newly had attained skill set that you have to the market, and there be an even exchange, monetary exchange, for your time and your contribution for doing so. And I do believe that there is a great market for that. The last thing, and I'm going to get to the comments and open it up. The last thing I'll say is, when I think about, and like I have these conversations, and I'm sure you can tell at this point, like everything that I talk about on this channel, it's not like I'm just coming here and we have this discussion and I forget about it. Like I am talking about this all the time, always, whether it's with my brothers, other family members, my dad, my friends, and we are constantly analyzing and assessing Jamaica, and we see the tremendous potential that this country has. And the perspective that we bring to the table is of a global perspective, and having all of us having lived in other countries around the world, and then all of us having traveled to many countries and spent significant amounts of time in other countries, and seeing the advantages that Jamaica has and the potential that it has, that these other countries, who some are, excuse me, some are more advanced than Jamaica, some not so much, but nonetheless, it like builds this perspective in your mind, and you're just like, man, we could do this, and we can do this so well. And so that brings the question of a discussion that I was having earlier today, and then it's actually been an ongoing discussion the last few weeks, and it was like, what is? It's first started out as like, what is Jamaica known for, right? In respect to us as a workforce, as a societal workforce. And I can tell you, like, none of us could have put our finger on that, like, first and foremost. And the context in which I asked that question is, I'm going to open this up to you. And when you think of anybody, just answer me. Like, when you think of Germany, for example, like, what's the first thing you think of when it comes to their workforce? When you think of, and please put it in the comments, when you think of Estonia, it was in the news article that we just read. Like, what comes to mind as far as like production and what they're known for and what that society is known for? When you think of Israel, what first comes to mind as far as like production and what they're known for? And you can name, like, when you think of Mexico, what do you think of when you think of their workforce and what they're bringing to the table globally? What do you think of when you think of China? When you think of Taiwan? What are they known for? And as I say those countries, I think there is something that comes to mind in all of our minds, right? And there is something, an industry or a market that we automatically associate or affiliate with them as a society as a whole. And I have, there, like, as I say those examples and as I say those countries' names, I know what comes to my mind, on so many of them. And even from a production product standpoint, Japan, what do you think of? Right. And so and like with Jamaica, like we were saying, it's like we couldn't come up with anything particularly. We came up with entertainment, reggae music, which has had a tremendous impact on the world, especially for such a small country, and then also athletics, right? And those have high value, very high value. But then I think, how does that matriculate into the society as a whole? And I think it comes with via tourism, which is great, but it's one industry. And I always say, and we always talk about the importance and the need to diversify industries and really, of course, support that golden goose that we have right now. But we need to attract more industries coming here. But we haven't really been doing a good job of that. But it really comes down to, like, what we're known for is reggae music, entertainment, and track and field athletics, and that's what we're known for. And now, when it comes to like the actual productivity, I think there's an opportunity to be known for something. There was, I think last year, I read an article on here about Jamaica investing in robotics education, and I think that is phenomenal. But I really think we gotta pick something. I know we got the BPO sector, the call center industry, but that's a really low hanging fruit. To me, it's just like, how do we educate our society in a mass way that we're known for? Could it be software engineering? I don't know. We may not even have like the base fundamental of that. You know what I'm saying? Like, in terms of just like the basic infrastructure to even do, like, that sounds lovely to me. That sounds great to me. Do we have that? I'm not sure. Could it be robotics? Could it be AI? I don't know. But like, we're not really, I mean, it's just the reality. Like, we're not producing in that lane, but I think we could, but we're not. And then we're also not making the investment to do so. And like, the investment is, yes, monetarily, but I think from a mental aspect, and when we think of these thought paradigms that we have, we're also not making that investment. And I don't know, is this something that we're not seeing within ourselves, or we're happy with the way things are? But I think that we can very much move more so into an intellectual society, and that like really being the norm. But it has to take a paradigm shift, and it has to take a commitment to that. Because to me, like, that is like really where it's at. All right, I know I've been going on and on. Let's get to some comments here. Jay Fitz says Germany equals all automotive, China equals manufacturing, Japan equals technology, Israel equals genocide. Okay, that's not what I was thinking with Israel. Perhaps a bad example. Perhaps a bad example. Maria says Germany rules and rules followers structure. So, when I think of like when I think of Germany, it's just like engineering. Like that's a first word that comes to my mind. Estonia, first thing I think of is just like software engineers. Same thing with Ukraine before the war and everything like that. They were well known for software engineer, graphic design, and I don't know the back history and the backstory of like how. Like this take Estonia. I think that's probably, let me see, from a population standpoint, I think that's probably the closest example to Jamaica. Estonia, 1.3 million population, because it's also, we gotta, and I understand this too, right? That we're a relatively small population, right? We're a population of 3 million, and I would venture to guess of the 3 million, we probably have, if somebody can look this up or correct me, but I would guess we have probably 1 million. And Rochelle, there we go. Ukraine software development. We probably have about 1 million people that are in the workforce. Would you say? Let me know. Let me know if I have that assumption correctly. And so let's just kind of run with that. We can adjust the numbers as we go along. And so we have 1 million people in our workforce, and you got to take that million and you got to divide it up and chop it up into high skilled, low skilled labor, um, da 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 da. But it's such a small population. I feel like there has to be a focus on something. And again, I give the example of the article we read where the prime minister is talking about investments made in robotics. Could it be robotics? Could it be software engineering? Could it be manufacturing? Could it be fintech? I don't, that's some high level stuff, and that does take a certain level of education and infrastructure. I don't know, but I think it's important to have these thought exercises. I think it's important to have these types of discussions and to just kind of get the mind going and going down these little rabbit holes of potential futures that Jamaica could have and could experience. And it's just like um agri-tech innovations, yes. And it's just like we're thank you, Alfonso. Great convo. Workforce 1.2 million. So you got a workforce of 1.2 million people here in Jamaica. Thank you, appreciate that. And it's just like, man, I think that, like, and it's such a double-edged sword, right? And I completely understand the difficult dynamics that even have conversations of this nature and the challenges, because you already have a society, an adult society that is in existence, right? And we're living in this reality now, and the workforce wants more money. They want to live a better lifestyle. We always talk about, they want to be able to afford a home. They want to be able to afford a good education for their children and give them better opportunities. But they feel like they can't, or they're not in a position to do so. And hence, I think the first thing that people think is like, hey, minimum wage needs to go up. And again, it's that conversation of like, all right, if we're going to give going back to my original example of the $5 per hour person, if we're going to give the $5 per hour person that society has said that this person per hour time is worth, what they bring to the table is $5 an hour, and all of a sudden we're just like, because whatever reason, instead of giving them $5, we're going to give them $50 per hour because they want a better life. And then we're like, is this person bringing $50 per hour worth of value to the table? And like, what does that do? That's in itself is going to cause inflation. And to me, a better mindset is just like, how do we get that $5 person to bring $100 worth of value to the table? And to me, that's where the focus needs to be. And this is like, and I don't have an answer to this, but especially from an adult level, how do we ramp up increasing the value that on average the individual person brings to the table, and that's across any industry. Like, how do we do that? I don't know. I brought up a bunch of different examples of different lanes that we can go down, but to me, that is like the question of the day. That is the question of the day. And training definitely is a big part of that, no question. We talk about, I was just having, who was I talking to? Just having a conversation with somebody. Oh yeah, last night. Yeah, talking with somebody. They were talking about their experience and one in another country, and they were saying that the service that they experience is worse than the service that they experience here in Jamaica. And we didn't go down into that, but it was just like we talk about here. Like sometimes, a lot of times, you go to like a certain restaurant in Jamaica and the service is poor. And she was telling me she was getting poor service from a restaurant here in the grill, and she was saying the waiter that was serving her, very nice young man, but it was a very nice young man, but the service was so unprofessional. And the person that she was with was asking about a bottle of wine, and the waiter was like, "I don't know, me don't drink them something there." And it's just like, all right, you can't speak like that. Like clearly they haven't been trained, and they weren't trained to give like the baseline of service, and that like just because you don't know about wine doesn't like that's not how you approach somebody from a professional standpoint. And that's just like a microcosm example, right? I'm gonna drink them something that, and you extrapolate that out again to the many businesses and industries that are across the board. And that's just an entry level service position, right? What about when we move to higher level stuff? Like, what about when we move to like even corporate Jamaica, right? And mind you, I don't have a lot of experience in corporate Jamaica, and I'm in the grill, right? And so, like, what is their like gold standard? Like in any industry, right? And how talented are those individuals? And not talented amongst each other, but like how talented are they against their New York counterparts, or their Estonia counterparts? How talented are they compared to their Torontonian counterparts? Are we just as good? Are we better? I don't know. I have no idea. We're talking entry level, but like on the highest level of like what we and as a society are producing as our top performers in country, not leaving, because I saw, Joe, that you said that a lot of our talent is leaving the island, is leaving Jamaica, but specifically in Jamaica, is the talent that we have here, is it competing at the highest level globally? I don't know. Again, I have no idea. I don't really I never worked in corporate Jamaica. The most, I would say, experience that I've had working with corporate Jamaica is really through this channel. And this is more of a vendor client relationship, not necessarily like being in the trenches day to day with them. So it's again another thought experiment and a conversation that we should be having, and we should be talking about. All right, let me get back to some comments here. Luke C says tech schools needed. Maria says Jamaica has a big advantage, and that is that it speaks English. Do not underestimate that. It is, but it's not something. It's a great advantage. It's a great advantage, but it's not something that is going to take us to the promised land. We need to use it, and I don't necessarily think we're using it to our full advantage. Another example, another advantage that we have is our location and proximity to the United States, the time zone, and then also as we talk about, and I see Alfonso there, we've been talking about for years at this point, the logistics hub that we could potentially and hopefully are going to be turning into, and that is based off being the 7th largest natural harbor in the entire world. And so from a topographical location perspective, we are in a good position, and we have a good advantages that we should be taking advantage of. Johnny Johnson says training in tourism sector, all phases. Yes, we do have like I'm not trying to like this conversation is not trying to like kill Jamaica in terms of like where we are and anything like that, but it's more so, again, it's just like we have to have these conversations, like, and it should be a the aspiration of fully reaching the potential that this country has. And even from like an individual citizen perspective, it's important that this is a goal that we have of ours. Like, to me, it's just like we shouldn't be mediocre. Our thinking of like being mediocre is okay. And then also, we don't want a situation in a society where others, and mind you, we're a country that is very open to foreign direct investment, right? Let's not forget that. And I'm saying that in the context that if we ourselves don't see the potential in what we have and who we are, being in the global financial society and world that we are in now in 2024, others will. Others companies, I wouldn't say will, they are seeing this, and they're putting their tens of millions and billions of dollars behind the potential that they see in this country and what we have. And this is like, now it's a big, it should be a big priority for us to see it in ourselves and wanting to build this for ourselves and for our children. So just something to, I would say, to keep not even in the back of our minds, in the front of our minds more than anything else. Let's keep going here. TDC Jamaica says Jamaica is not short of a lot of what you are talking about, brilliance, excellence, etc. But anecdotally, my observation is our value system has shifted. The ethos of our country has changed. Tough comment, man. Tough comment, TDC. Tough comment. And I hear you on that. And it's true. And I can't say that it's shift. I personally can't say it's shifted because I wasn't born and raised here, but I can only tell you from my experience in being here, the 18 years that I've been here, right? And I think, man, how do I say it? There is a lot of, from a child's perspective or a young person's perspective, and from what I've seen and observed, there's a lot of very raw experiences that young people go through. And I think of I always go back to car accidents because it's like one of those things that really hit me. Was I traumatized by it? I'm not sure, but I moved here when I was 22, and I born and raised in New York, and I went 22 years of my life. I've never saw a dead person before. I've never seen a car accident. I've never seen anything like that. And the first year that I moved here, the first accident that I saw was here at Travelers on North Millennium Boulevard. And it was in the evening. I'll never forget. I was walking down from the lobby of Travelers down to the beach, and I heard like it was an explosion. I've never heard this sound before in my life. And like everybody comes out from their rooms on their balconies and they're looking out. And I run to the front. And then as I get to the front, I just see like just debris all down Norman Valley Boulevard. And I couldn't tell what had just happened. And what it was a motorcycle accident. And it was like, I see a helmet, I see bike torn up, and I see a guy all the way down the block. And I go down there and I see a guy laying there. And then I see this guy who he was the first person there. He's going through the guy's pockets, who's still alive, he's badly injured, and he's going through this guy's pockets, and he's like, oh, he has money. And I'm like, I'm looking at him in shock. Like, I'm in just shock of the situation, shock of how this man is behaving, and he's using it as an opportunity to rob this person who's dying in front of all of us. And then like I kneel down to this guy, and this guy is messed up. Like his skull is clearly cracked. He's struggling to breathe. His leg bone is protruding out of his pants. Terrible situation. And like I kneel down, and I'm holding his hand, and I'm just like talking to him. And I was like, hey man, what's your name? He's not speaking. And I was just encouraging him. I was like, hold on, help is on the way. And eventually ambulance comes, and And the ambulance is there. There's a woman in labor in the back of the ambulance, and they put this guy on the stretcher next to the woman who's in labor, who has to now sit on the side because she can't be on the stretcher because they got to take this guy to 45 minutes away to Savlamar Hospital. Needless to say, the guy passed away, unfortunately. And that was my first experience, and I've never experienced anything like that in my entire life. And I just and I've never been trained in emergency medical services or anything like that. And I just did my best to try and accommodate this person as best I could. And so being here, these things happen, especially at that time. And if you've been to Negril recently, we have these rudders in the road, we have these medians, we have stoplights now. None of that existed when I first moved here. We were having, I would say, every 6 weeks, maybe no more than 2 months, there was some sort of fatal or horrific car accident on Norman Manley Boulevard, right outside of Travelers. And I just remember hearing, I just know that sound so well, just like the velocity of a car smacking into another car, and metal and plastic, it just going at each other. It's a horrible sound. And you just go out there and you're just mentally preparing yourself about what this could possibly be. And then on top of that, Jamaicans panic. I mean, it's just the initial thing. And I understand it's a crazy situation, but everybody panics. And and I've come to the point where and me and my brothers, we've all done this over and over again, just have to be the one to calm the situation down and take control. My point in bringing all this up is that I experienced that at 22. And in many of the accidents that I've seen, it's you'll always see a little kid out there. You'll always see a 4-year-old, 7-year-old, 10-year-old, 15-year-old. And so they're seeing these horrific things. Mind you, I'm not talking about things that happen within the family, the sexual assaults that happen with families, molestation, other violent crimes, domestic violence that these kids experience on top of and that's why I'm just kind of sticking to the fatal car accidents, because this is what I see, right? And they become desensitized to this, and they become desensitized to these horrific things that happen to the human body during these tragic moments. And that has an effect on the psychology of an individual and the development of a young person. There's an article that I read, this has to be 5 years ago, and it was written by a psychologist, I believe. And the premise of the article was essentially talking about the same thing that you're saying here, TDC, about the values being shifted. And the article was talking about, she was in Kingston and there was somebody on the rooftop of some building that was threatening to jump off and kill themselves. And there's a crowd of people at the bottom, and they're watching this person who was about to jump off and kill themselves. And the crowd was encouraging him to do so, encouraging him to jump off. And what she was saying in the article is she's like, where have our societal values gone? Where have we gone as a society that there is somebody going through some psychological trauma, challenge, desperation, and here the people in society are encouraging them to kill themselves? And this is where the desensitization comes into play. And I think a lot of it, again, comes back to these experiences that in a modern society, I don't think should be normal. I don't think that this should be a regular thing that a young person sees, but it has an effect. And I think it plays into what you're saying and into our values. And yeah, we can go into many different lanes about this. We could talk about the music, we could talk about the breakdown of the nuclear family, the move away from church, all these things. I think even school, all these things contribute to a degradation of societal values. But nonetheless, I think it's important to recognize them and recognize it as a challenge and as an issue. And really get back to the basics. I know a lot of people, and I don't know if this is the perspective that you're coming from, TDC, but I know a lot of people talk about, oh, Jamaica was never like this. It never used to be like, I didn't have to lock my doors. And I hear all this, but I can't speak to that perspective. I just never had that experience growing up because I didn't grow up here. But yeah, thank you for the comment. Like that's kind of again where my mind goes. Let's keep going here. Joe says, I can't live a financially comfortable life now and highly educated, but it's all to do where I live. I live in the most expensive city in the United States. Yeah. Let's keep going here. As I just said, Cage Level says the music is poisoning them. They think scamming is the way forward, and they show no interest in educating themselves. I taught myself how to trade. That's a skill everyone should have. Yeah, but again, Cage, it comes down to discipline, man. And it's like, are we training our society? Are we training our young people that of having a high value, high level of discipline? That's what this takes. It's discipline. It's delayed gratification. It's just like, you bring up scamming. Nobody wants to work hard for X number of years to get a benefit. I was just talking to one of my dad's friends, like literally right before this stream, and he's around my dad's age. He's in his 70s now, but he's still working. He's doing a development, and he was just telling me about his development that he's doing in Falmouth. We're going to talk about it, and we're going to do video together, and so you all will know or learn about it at some point in time. But he was telling me these stories of like how he came up. He's doing very well for himself now, but it took so many years for him to get to where he is successfully. And so he was telling me this story, quick anecdote, but it just kind of goes to show you how long it takes. On average, it takes a long time to be, as you were talking, Joe, about being financially secure. And for those who don't know, my dad started a taxi company in the 60s called Winthrop Car Service. And he was able to, through his car service, he got a lot of people into America through a working visa. He said, like, literally, he says he's brought in over 1,000 Haitians into America that came under Winthrop Car Service, and thousands more Jamaicans as well. So anyway, Winthrop Car Service, Canarsie, 60s, 70s, 80s. And my dad's friend who I was talking to, he was, these are all guys now in their 20s and 30s in New York City and let's call it 60s and 70s. 70s and 80s. And so he came to New York and he was putting himself through school. So he's going through school Monday through Friday. And what he did was he borrowed my dad's friend's car to drive under Winthrop Car Service on weekends. And so he was driving as a taxi driver to make his money to send himself to school. And it's like such a crazy mindset to have, and especially during that time. And to work for my dad, and now he's been doing well for a very, very long time. Multiple businesses in Jamaica. He moved back to Jamaica, started his shop here, has hotels. He's doing the development in Falmouth. He's doing another one in Montego Bay. Phenomenal story. Another anecdote he told me quickly is like, he also told me about this story about how my dad started this nightclub. And it was on, if you know Brooklyn, it was Kings Highway, like right by Kings Plaza in Brooklyn. And that is it was a white neighborhood back then, and it is when you kind of go past Kings High. I guess it still kind of is at this point in time. And my dad opened up a nightclub there. And on the opening night, he was on his way there, my dad's friend on his way to the club to see my dad and to help celebrate, commemorate this situation. And driving there, and what happened was my dad told me the story, but it was just my first time hearing it from his perspective. And because it was in a white neighborhood, they didn't want this black owner, black club to be there. My dad ended up getting stabbed 3 times, and he was in the ICU for over a week. And he's like he was just telling me it was like all over the news, the radio, crazy time. And this was before me and my brothers were born. My dad almost died. And it was just crazy. Like, I didn't know he was there on that night that happened. My dad told us the story from when we were kids. He still has a stab wounds in his rib and in his shoulder and his back. He got stabbed 3 times. And these are the things that these guys have gone through, and like that generation had gone through in order to be successful. And a lot of the challenges that we face today are very different for sure, and society has changed, but nonetheless, like, the focus and the commitment and the patience was there, and it has to be there. And I think, and I was just telling him, I was like, I got to get you on the podcast. Like, you got to tell these stories, especially for these young people, because people just want fast money, young people particularly. And that's not just the way society works. And I've been saying, like, I just turned 40 this year, and it probably wasn't like maybe a couple of years ago, particularly like when I started this channel, that I felt like I got my feet and my legs under me and like figuring out like what I was supposed to be doing, and like seeing a path, and this is like, oh, this is how I think I can be successful, by doing X, Y, and Z sort of thing, like finding yourself and then working on yourself and that sort of thing. And a lot of that is missing, and I think it's important to tell stories of my dad, of my dad's friend, and showing examples of like, these guys have been at it, took 20 years. Like, even myself, I think, I don't even look at myself as somebody who's made it, not by any stretch of the imagination, but I feel like I'm on the path to success in many, many ways. But it took so long, and it takes so long. But I was just at least now, like, finally confident that I am on like a really, really good path. And so, the last thing I'll say on this, like with the scamming aspect of it, it's like, I don't know how you break that. That's a whole nother conversation, because it's one of those things that is so, it's like impactful, like on a deep psychological level, right? And like, let's think about it. Let's talk about this a little bit, right? We're living in a society. We went through this whole rigmarole about making our society individually more valuable, and being valued by the market at a higher level, and wanting to get to a point where the individual person on average is bringing high level value to the table, and then also being equitably compensated for that level of value that they're bringing to the table and bringing to the market. Now you have scamming, right? And the people who are doing the scamming, they're making all this money, right? They're making all this money, having great, phenomenal cars. They're getting the girls, the chains, the grills, yada yada yada, right? And outwardly looking like they're living the best life. And then you have the kids in their neighborhoods, in their community, seeing that. And those scammers have gone to the same school that those kids are going to now currently, and they're chopping the line, and they're doing very well for themselves financially. And you're like, as a kid, it's just like, all right, that's what I want to do. Like they're making all this money. Why shouldn't I do that? They can do that, and then maybe they're even teaching them at a young age how to do it. Like, see, it's simple. All you got to do is da 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 da. You make all this money. And mind you, we're not. And like, I was having this conversation yesterday with somebody. We're not talking about like a little bit of money. Remember, last year it was estimated, I think it was 2023 or 2022, it was estimated that $1 billion came into the Jamaican economy from scamming. $1 billion. With the conversation that I was having yesterday, somebody, they were telling me about this scammer who had, I think the police got him like, I think 2 or 3 years ago, Montego Bay, big scammer. And I was like, all right. And I was just trying to get like a perspective on like, all right, how much was this guy's net worth? How much was he worth? And take this with a grain of salt. I have no idea how to justify this, but the answer was like, they were like, he's probably worth 50 million US dollars. I was like, what? 50 million US dollars? Oh, like, that is crazy. That is serious. That is real money. That is generational wealth. And he was just telling me about all these businesses that he owned and assets and land, like hundreds of acres. I'm like, this is crazy. And so, anyway, the point is, it's like, psychologically, right? You're a young person, you're seeing this money, like all these aspirational things. Let's focus. I don't mean to be gender biased here, but like, just let's focus on the young men, right? You're a boy and you're looking up to these men, and your aspiration is to have the things that they have, to have the women, the girls, the popping of the bottles, again, to have that. And this is what you're seeing. And more than likely, your father is not in your life. I mean, it just does, keep it a buck here. This is the reality of the situation here, right? And you're seeing this, and this is what you're looking up to, and who you're looking up to. The likelihood is that you're probably going to go down that path, right? Without having the proper familial infrastructure that you need to combat that, to have your mother, your father, maybe even a couple of aunties and the grandparents there, that you're coming back home to this nuclear family that is supporting you psychologically, emotionally, hopefully financially as well, at least from the basics, right? And you're being influenced psychologically, even just by a osmosis of being in that environment and seeing it. You're like, maybe I could do that. Why would I get a college degree? Or maybe there isn't even a path for you to get a college degree, right? If that's something that you wanted to do. So it's a difficult conundrum that we find ourselves in society, in facing challenges of that aspect, right? And I brought this up many times before, as we were talking about particularly like the different trades that are out there, and Jamaica having this labor shortage. And I was talking to the electrician that we have here, OG electrician. This is who we call every time. Like, this guy knows his stuff like the back of his hand. His second is also another mature gentleman. And I'm like, where is your apprentice? Where are the young people that, because he's just so phenomenally good, just patient, taking his time, troubleshooting. He knows his stuff. And I was like, and he's an older guy. I'm like, this guy cannot die with this experience. He has to pass this along. And I was asking him, I was like, where's your apprentice? Where's your youngin? And he's like, they don't want to work. They don't want to come under him because they are already making their money chopping the line. They're already making their money scamming. I'm like, man, that is not good. That is from a societal level. Like, when we're looking at the pipeline of our children, who soon will be, in no time, will be adults, and they're going to be the ones who are given the key to push and bring society forward. Have we prepared them? Have we prepared them to take the baton? And it may not be a baton that we hand over. It may be a baton that we drop dead and they literally have to pick up, because we didn't do a good job of succession planning and giving them and creating opportunities for them. So it's just like, it's a multifaceted, challenging situation that I think it's just like we need to continue to talk about these things. Jeff Rogerson, thank you so much for the donation. Really, really, really appreciate it. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. You didn't have to do that. Didn't expect that. Thank you. Yeah, I think this is a good conversation to have. Let's see. Let's get a few more comments in here. Oh, there's a lot of comments. Sorry, I just keep going on. Let's see if we can hear from somebody. Can hear from Mocan says, "Hey Throp, is Jamaica open to digital currency like Bitcoin? Also, I'm planning to buy a house in Tower Isle. What's your opinion on growth and development by Ian Fleming Airport?" Well, that whole area is like super hot right now. And I don't know, like, and I'm taking this like from not other, like I'm a realtor, but from realtors who I've talked to about that area. So it seems like a good buy just from what I heard. I don't necessarily have any like specific insight to give you at this point in time, but it seems like a good move. Bitcoin, I don't know. I don't know of like, and I don't know if you mean this by like, can you pay for a hotel room with Bitcoin? Even though I think I've heard of hotels doing that, but like, I don't know, like on a mass level, is this something being kind of given around, are used as regular currency? Joe says, as a societal workforce, I don't think of Jamaicans in Jamaica. I think of Jamaicans in the diaspora. Majority are highly educated and in leadership positions in their fields, from education to corporate. All the talent in Jamaica is leaving. Yeah, I mean, so I'll say this. So, and like you all know, have like the struggles that I've had. At least I've talked about this on several occasions. Like the struggles I've had with with like building a creative team and finding talent here in Jamaica, especially like in the YouTube realm. And like what I found is exactly what you're saying, Joe. Is like I'm looking for certain level of talent in the creative space, not really finding it. And what it is like the best in the creative industry, like they're either, it's one of two things. They're either upright leaving and like going to Hollywood or working in different film industries like in Atlanta or wherever, and they're not here, or they're already working for a company overseas, which I think is actually phenomenal. I think that's actually great. And it shows, hopefully it gives examples of to other people that, to my earlier point, you can build yourself up here, become and increase your value that you bring to society, and you no longer have to be confined by getting compensated by the market here in Jamaica. You can go abroad. Just like we talked about different societies about, hey, what do you think about when we think of Estonia or Ukraine? Somebody said software engineering, software development, right? And so other countries go to Ukraine for, or used to before the war, used to go to Ukraine for software development skills. And it's no longer do I have to be in Jamaica and only rely on the engineers of maybe in the United States or maybe just here in Jamaica. My friend, he had a web business, and his engineers were based in Estonia and in Ukraine. And they are far cheaper than that of the developers in the United States, and they have high level skill sets. Like they're very good at what they do. I want to say the Throp logo was designed and created by a designer in Ukraine. Look at that. I'm almost certain. I can double check, but it was my friend who I gave it to. I was like, "Hey man, I need a logo. Can you get this done?" And I think he gave it to her, his designer in the Ukraine. Crazy, right? I didn't go to a Jamaican. I mean, take it for whatever you want, but like, I didn't go to a Jamaican designer here. I didn't feel like I didn't go to one in the United States. Um, I went to via my friend. I asked him, and then he went to his person in the Ukraine. I think you could do the same thing here. It's already happening. It's already happening, is my point. And yeah, I think there is more of there's a big opportunity to kind of again build up the value in individuals here, and then they can kind of work for companies abroad. All right, I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here. Nicole says the government made a call for Jamaicans abroad to come home and support the nation building. It's been really difficult for me as a dual citizen to reintegrate, connect with folks in my industry. Since the biannual Jamaican Diaspora Conference, what's your advice when industry related professionals are not making the effort to connect with Jamaicans abroad, reintegrating back into society, into the island, missed opportunity to connect the dots? I didn't know that. Yeah, sorry to hear about that, Nicole. I'm going to answer your question, but I was like, what would be your expectation in as far as like assisting with reintegration into society? And I say that I'd just love to hear your response when you get a chance. So I'd like to think that like of this, like personally speaking, like this Throp community is hopefully a community that encourages that. And I think that's important. And that if there are folks out there, and I'm sure there are, you're one of them, Nicole, that feel like they need that support. I mean, hopefully we're fostering that in a real way. Excuse me. We're fostering that in a real way with this community online and then hopefully in real life. And it's so important. It's such an untapped, at least the diaspora community is an untapped resource. And not necessarily it's being tapped, but not to its full potential. And I don't know how do we create, talking about pipelines, how do we create a better pipeline for that? And you hear just from your comments here, you want to come back to Jamaica. You want to be part of this nation building. But I think there has to be, obviously, like a clear path for you to be able to do that. And of course, there is a risk in doing so and giving up your life in the States or wherever you're residing and coming here. And it sounds like the motivation is there from you to do so, but you are looking for guidance in how that could happen. Um, I think it's like these communities. I see it on Capital of Casual, a Facebook group here in Negril, based in Negril, and I see these online communities being formed and like-minded individuals who like love Jamaica, who want to make it their home, who want to see it better coming into play. But I think it's important that we help each other out and we hold each other's hands like when needed. But I think, and then I think also a big part of that is I hope you recognize like how valuable you all are, like really. Because I talk to a lot of people and they say like, hey, what would I do? You know, what would I be able to contribute? I always say your very presence will make an impact. Your very presence as somebody who has been abroad for an extended period of time, who has XYZ experience in XYZ field, your presence alone will have an impact. And how you conduct yourself in local society as well, like it's very, very impactful. And mind you, it's not even getting into this. I'm in this industry and I'm going to bring my experience in the industry I'm coming from and bring that directly into the local industry here, right? So let me see. Okay, you're saying I have client. Okay, Nicole says I hope this Throck community can encourage it. I'm encouraged here, but my expectation is to meet architects, engineers, contractors, and discuss planning related projects to support each parish. I have clients I want to connect to the island, but I need a project team I can trust and work with to support either public projects or private planning projects. Thank you for these encouraging words. It's appreciated as I'm hanging on. I hope so. And not to plug my own conference, but like ThropX, like a lot of this stuff happens there. A lot of this stuff happens, and we're going to be having some networking events that will even include people. Like even if I think it's just so important to network. We're going to have networking events outside of the conference to include people in the local community to bring them together, because I think in moving here or moving back here, it's great to have a group of people that you can say, oh, I may hang out with them when I come here. Or you start having discussions about doing business, or even these discussions that we're having online here. and we do these thought exercises. Imagine this, imagine that. What if we did this? I think having these type of conversations are very, very, very powerful. All right, let's keep rolling here. Only agreeing sometimes says university is not the key without the right teachers. Encourage teachers. Agree. Craig Hall says, yo, I used to call Winthrop growing up in BK in the 90s. Awesome, awesome. Do you remember the number, the phone number? A lot of people still remember the number. Let me know, Craig. Aaliyah K says, perhaps identifying whom is not academic and has no interest in learning for exams or cannot retrain and regulate information, and giving them the option of being an unpaid apprentice. I think apprenticeships are very powerful. Excuse me. Shauna says, unfortunately, trauma is normalized as a collective that many disassociate / detach to cope with constraint grief that goes unprocessed. Mental health from a societal perspective is much needed. Agreed. And I think that's something that that we need to take like just more seriously. I mean, even like simple things, but I think they're so powerful that we can bring into the classroom or extracurricular activities, or just have extracurricular activities. I think that's another thing that is missing in Jamaica, like crazy, like after school programs for these kids. It's freaking non-existent, man. Anyway, one thing that we started doing with my family's nonprofit organization, Negril Education Environment Trust, is we used to do, we've had classes where we do meditation. We've had classes where we do yoga. And it's just so important because they're doing this in the States. They're doing this with kids in the classroom in the US. And I always think of like, it's just so important that we are competitive globally. It's very, very important. And these guys are having like all these like huge advantages of having like emotional control and being able to de-escalate a situation. It's like, we don't have that in Jamaica, like de-escalation. Like it's like 0 to 100, like all the time. All right, I'm going to take a quick break here. We're doing 1:49 minutes. Let's see. Let's do the Christmas run. I'm not sure we've shown that in a while. No, I don't think we need that long. All right, let's do the traveler's ad. I'll be back in a few. I just lost it. Okay, we are doing a semi-quick walkthrough of travelers. This is our welcome home sign. Whether you came here for the first time or you've been here many times, it's always welcome home. Here is the lobby. Then the front desk is over there. And if you play the piano, you can play the baby grand piano here. And we just put this lobby bar here, which we haven't began using, but it's kind of turned into a makeshift tour desk. And here is the meat office, Negril Education Environment Trust. This is my family's nonprofit organization. And yes, we are also part of the Rotary Club, the Negril Rotary Club. Okay, moving on. So we're stepping into the garden area here. And here on the left is the bungalows. This is actually the first room category that my dad started with. Started with 3 of these and then slowly built it up to the property that it is today. So this actually used to be a jungle before my dad started this, and he started from scratch. So up here above the lobby, these are our suites and deluxe rooms. Then over here is the superior rooms. They're grafted mangoes and they're really, really good. And then over there is our standard block. And going down the bungalow path here, we're doing a little construction here. This is one of our bungalows. Give you guys a sneak peek. Hope this is dry. Okay, it is. All right, just a little quick sneak peek. Brought the ceilings up. Well, got AC. That's it. Not even gonna explain the concept, but just give you a quick look-see on what we're doing here. All right, I don't know if I was supposed to show you that or not, but that is that. Okay, moving on. Keep going towards the beach. I'm not sure if you can see that from here, but that's the direction that we're heading in. And then over on the right, morning. All right, and over on the right is the pool area. Let's see if we can walk across. Hope I'm not moving too fast here, but no gimbal or anything. This is just with my phone. And this is a pool, has a bar, swimmer bar, which we opened. I think they're opening it today, as a matter of fact. And that's the waterfall. And then under the waterfall is a grotto, so little cave-like thingy. That's cool. It's not too far, not too deep of a pool, I should say. So no diving. Then moving on. Oh, sorry, I gotta walk back across. And then over here on the left, we got our gym. We just repainted it. So we got treadmill, we got techno gym weights, if you know about weights. These are top of the line stuff. Super proud of that. Elliptical, pull up, chin up, dip bar, squat rack. We got 2 exercise benches and bench press and a bunch of different plates. And there's me. Let's keep this moving. And then here we got the family room. It's kind of a place if you want to come chill out, want to read, hang out with the family. And then here we have like a map. And so everybody, every guest that we've had here, if you're from anywhere here that hasn't been scratched off, then you can come and just scratch it off. So we've had people from all over the States, all over Europe, Russia, China, Australia, New Zealand, people from all over the world, travelers. Oh, Madagascar, different places in Africa, pretty cool. No one from Iceland and Greenland. That's surprising. I feel like we have had that, but maybe they didn't scratch it off. And then if you're just coming for the day, we have a shower here, and you can use this as a changing room, shower up, and go on about your day. So this is the family room. Play chess, you can do that as well. I like that from time to time. And then here's the bar and the restaurant, and of course the beach. Then we have our dive shop here, but I don't think anybody's diving. But you come here, get certified scuba if you want to. I've been diving with these guys a few times. And then we have canoes and paddle boards as well if you want to get out.
Jamaica finds itself on a transformative journey. The government has committed billions of dollars to infrastructure improvements over the next 5 years, including highways, bridges, hospitals, and water systems. But it's not just the government. Major private sector investments are flowing into the country like never before. Billions of US dollars are being poured into residential projects and commercial developments. The economic indicators are undeniable, showing a positive path for Jamaica's future. Now is the time to be a part of this growth. You don't want to miss out on the opportunities unfolding before your very eyes. Enter ThropX 2024, Jamaica's premier real estate and investment conference, taking place from November 17th to November 22nd in the Grill, Jamaica. ThropX is your portal to understanding the investment opportunities available throughout Jamaica. Learn from the experts driving Jamaica's economic success and uncover its potential for yourself. Whether you want to learn how to purchase property in Jamaica, network with top-tier practitioners, or explore what it's like to live and thrive here, ThropX is the place to be. Join a community of like-minded individuals and be part of a group of potential investors ready to grow with you. Join us at ThropX 2024, where all your questions about living, investing, and thriving in Jamaica will be answered. Secure your future, embrace the journey, and see you in the grill. Register now at thropx.com.
All right, we're back. All right, we're going to start wrapping up here. I know I promised those 2 other articles, but we can go just as deep as we just did on those 2 other subjects. So I think probably be better served to just really wrap up these last few comments, and maybe save these articles for later in this week. And like I said, I want to go live more, regularly. We got the schedule Friday ThropX live stream, so we have that coming up. All right, let's get a few more comments here. Shauna says, Throp, there needs to be a partnership between schools and mental health practitioners, some type of initiative, implementation, and introduction to schools. In addition, a parent support group is facilitated by a mental health specialist in schools. Agreed. I think that stuff is just so underestimated, like the power of that, because it's sad to say, like what I'm about to say, I think it's sad to say that there isn't a great opportunity. And if anybody thinks otherwise, please let me know. I don't think there is a great opportunity, at least the way our society is set up right now, to directly address, subvert some of the trauma that our young people and society in general are experiencing. And unless there is, again, correct me if I'm wrong and tell me otherwise, like, is there something in place right now, or being discussed to be in place right now, that is going to stop society, children, from going through and experiencing trauma in their household? Is there something in society that is in place or being put in place to subvert our young people from experiencing and observing domestic violence within their community? The car accidents examples that we have shown here. And I don't know of that. Do you think the next 3 years, let's say, compared to the last 3 years, that there are going to be our children are going to experience less trauma in the next 3 years than they did in the past 3 years? And if you think so, what has been put in place to make you think otherwise and believe otherwise? And so, with that being said, if that's the premise under which we're going to have this conversation and try to make decisions on what is best for our society, I think what you're saying here, Shauna, is the way to go. And it sucks, right? We're not talking about prevention. We're talking about a cure that is downstream. And there should definitely be more of a focus on the upstream and cutting this off before it gets down to an adult or even in the classroom, so to speak. So I think that this is something that could help us as a society in the long term, right? So if you were to implement a program like this in a school, like, this is what I'm thinking, this is where my mind automatically goes, is like, now you're giving the student, the individual, the tools to deal with this trauma. You're giving them the space to bring this to the table and to bring understanding about whatever it is that they've gone through, they've seen, that they've experienced. And that is going to empower them to in their childhood and then also as an adult, right? So I think what you're saying and what you are suggesting here is very, very powerful and could have like a blanket effect on society. So, uh, thank you for that, Shauna. Thank you for that. I think that's a great idea. Only agreeing sometimes says, question, what is the talent leaving for and to do? And are these jobs one that you can do online from home? And what's stopping them from doing it in the Caribbean pipeline? Um, it's a multitude of industries. Good question. So even teachers, we're having a brain drain of teachers, like going to, but it's not just teachers is a good example, and it's not the United States also experiencing it as well. Like a lot of teachers and educators are going to countries like Dubai, and they're just getting paid just a ridiculous amount. Um, so even that, I would say, even medical, there are a lot of doctors who will get educated here or maybe even get educated in the United States, leave Jamaica, go to med school in the United States and stay there and help build the United States. Right. And as Joe was saying earlier, these are very bright, top level, world class, smart people. And this is our best and the brightest. Like, and a lot of that, excuse me, a lot of that talent is going abroad. So, to your idea of can this stuff be done online, a lot of it, yes, because you're also seeing like the reverse, right? So from a digital nomad perspective, you're seeing people in the United States. We have a lot of them come here, travelers, and stay here for extended period of time, and they work from Jamaica and they make their money from corporate US, from US corporations. Generally speaking, I'm sure all over the world, but it's mostly what I see is folks coming and working here from Jamaica and their US jobs. I gave the example of some of the creative industry here in Jamaica who are taking perhaps editing jobs and working for US based companies and getting getting a US salary. So that happens. That does happen. I'm trying to think of some other examples of working from here. Yeah, I can't think of like marketing, my software engineering, but we're not producing software engineers at scale in Jamaica. Like we're just not. We're just not. And I don't, and perhaps we can get an educator from the university level to explain why. I know we had Mr. Brown, the president of UTech, on maybe 2 months ago, 6 weeks ago, something like that. So I don't know. I think these are good conversations to have for sure. Let's see what else we got. Layla says they have to run that rat race and then after that get stuck and realize how much better Jamaica is. Yeah, that does happen a lot. Cage Level says, is the country experiencing a 7.0 magnitude earthquake? That's crazy. I'm not feeling it. Is it? Let me see. Let me just look this up. Oops. Maybe it's in Kingston. I don't know. I'm not seeing anything at this point. Yeah, not seeing anything. Anyway, let's keep rolling here. Mm. Ember says the idea about Jamaica growth is a pipe dream. No, I mean, I keep. It's hard for I think anybody to say something like that. Jamaica is growing, like there's no question about that, and it's growing at a faster pace than ever before. There's no doubt about that. I don't think we're arguing that. I think the like one of the main premise of the conversation that we're having today, and then also I would say one of the main motivations of this channel is like it's growing, it's happening. We need to be a part of it. The Jamaican diaspora needs to be a part of it. The trajectory that Jamaica is going on is phenomenal. I keep saying this, like I've never felt this way so bullish about where Jamaica is heading and the direction that it's going. And the the main part of this conversation is just like, is the average Jamaican going to feel the benefits of what is happening to Jamaica as a whole? And like that's where the focus needs to be. And like what we were talking about, this whole discussion is making our society per capita more highly valued, right? The workforce specifically, like across the board. And we're just coming up with these different ideas of like what industry can we focus on in terms of education? What industry can we focus on in terms of bringing higher level talent to the table? And so Jamaica is growing. Like it is growing. To say it's a pipe dream, like it's happening. And more so, how do we ensure that the average Jamaican feels the benefit of all this? We've been talking about the global logistics hub Jamaica is going to turn into. We've been talking about the oil that was just been, I won't say just, I guess just discovered. We had a long discussion on that last weekend. We are talking about all the direct investment that's coming into Jamaica, billions of US dollars that is coming in here. Again, is the average Jamaican going to feel this? And I think we're in a good position to make sure that that is the case. Right. Let's see. TDC says the challenge is we sending children back into unhealthy environments, home, community, etc. Heal the adults so that the children can thrive around them. Good point. Yeah, that's exactly what's going on. Wendy says nurses, teachers, and doctors are leaving for better pay and benefits. That's correct. Wendy says many JPS workers have left too. Everton says nutrition is a factor, and also when some of these fathers foster kids after a certain age, mental issue health is larger than expected outcome, as well as multiple fatherless mothers by one male. Which comes back to education. Next topic. Very good. Joe says that was really interesting as always. Unfortunately, I have to leave until next time. Thropex. Good night, everyone. Okay. Yeah, we started late today. Sorry, everybody. Everybody's leaving. I know it's kind of later than usual. Aaliyah says, the same thing is happening here in the UK. All professionals and talents are leaving to use their skills in other countries. Come to Jamaica. Says it's not isolated to Jamaica. Dr. Donna, good to see you. The art appraiser. Only agreeing sometimes says there was a YouTuber speaking to a teacher who is going back and forth to his country to help build up school system where young children under 16 are earning money, building things online and learning. So I would say, like I brought up this example before, but I think it's just so awesome. We had this young waitress that was working for us. She may have worked for us for a year or so. I can't remember how old she is, but anyway, she's a waitress here, and she was making these. She was also making these. I don't know, these little knickknacks, bracelets, things. Anyway, she was selling them on Etsy, and she had her online store, and she was so proud. She was showing me on her phone of like all the things that she's selling. I was like, "How's business going?" And like we were always talking about it, and she was doing very, very, very well. And she doesn't work here anymore. Maybe her business took off, but she comes by every now and then. It seems like she's doing well. And I was like, that's amazing. And this is the world that we live in today. Is that a waitress working for Travelers Beach Resort, young person, young woman, can not only have her physical job here, but she's also starting her own business and she has brought a higher level of value to society, and she's getting an equitable exchange for her products that she is now able to sell online on Etsy.com. She has an online store. Amazing. I'm fairly certain she didn't go to school for that. I'm fairly certain she learned how to start up her store by going to YouTube and doing tutorials and figuring it out as she went along. And she's doing well. And that example and that opportunity exists for most of society, I would say at this point in time, for most of society. Wendy said Jamaica has come a long way from the 80s. When Jamaica starts drilling for oil, the GDP will increase. Agreed. Vaughn Park says Jamaica needs to try and put themselves in the progress. Sojourner says, will the average Jamaican feel the monetary benefits of the oil discovery? Great question. Remains to be seen. But I think it's us, the people, that have to hold the powers that be accountable to ensure that this happens. Luke C says the diaspora is spoiled with the ease of navigating daily life. It's a challenge to assimilate in society. I'll let the diaspora chime in on that. Illuminati says crime. I'm not sure. Could be out of context. Shauna says Throp, just sharing this here. In addition, a parent support group that's facilitated by mental health specialists in schools. That's absolutely. I think that's a good idea. Alayla says, surprisingly, a lot of people are leaving America as well. Yep. Donna Bryce says, here in Canada, we have developed a serious SG. Oh, sorry. Here's the rest. In Canada, we have developed a serious shortage of family doctors, as many have retired or gone to the U.S. where they can make more money. Joe says, do Jamaicans know about the gig websites like Upwork and Fiverr? I believe so. Although we talk about it here at Thought Media. And I think that's fairly common. But again, are they, and at a mass level, are they using it to their advantage? I don't think so. I really don't think it's like really hit the market, so to speak. Embaraka had the same sentiment. I guess having a conversation. Only agreeing sometimes says conversations like this need more platforms in the real world. I mean, offline and in culture to bring awareness that there are like-minded people. Too many people think others don't care. No, I agree. I think like these sort of conversations and thought exercises are like so important. And I want to do more of this. I wish, and I know we're interacting, we're having this conversation, like me talking and then you guys typing, and I'm trying to read comments. But I think it's just so much more powerful to have these conversations in, like you're saying, in the real world, or maybe even me having a guest on, and not just like my thoughts, interpretations on these subject matters, but also learning from other people. And I learned a lot from you all. I learned a tremendous amount from you all. So I don't take that for granted at all. But I think there would be a lot of value in having like a roundtable discussion, open discussion, long form discussion on subject matters of this. And then also bringing different perspectives, right? Bringing the perspectives of an educator, maybe even a student, a young person, and understanding the day-to-day challenges that they're facing, not only in school, but in their communities, and bringing that to the forefront and bringing that to light. And it's like, not hearing a lot about it on these platforms, not hearing, when I say these platforms, like on YouTube, these are, I see a lot of foolishness out there. But these are the sort of things that I think are going to have a disproportionate impact on society and in conversations and in the decision making rooms that I may not be part of, but those decision makers are seeing conversations like this and seeing content like this, and it gets them thinking, or maybe they start going down a path of, hey, could this work? Could that work? And look at this. We've been talking over 2 hours now, and off of the one article that was written, right? Excuse me, by Dennis Minot on Jamaica's education system. And that one article got us to sit here for 2 hours to talk about education in Jamaica and the impact that it can have on society and generations to come. And that's phenomenal. And I think we need more publications like this. And thank you to Mr. Minot for writing the article that he did. I think it's phenomenal. And I'm gonna put it in the chat in the comment one more time. And I would encourage you to uh to read it for yourselves. And if you feel so inclined, maybe even reach out to Mr. Minot there. His email address is there. And yeah, his email address is there at the bottom. I think this is great. This is a great conversation, and this is just, and it's one of those things. It's like it's great. We're doing this on a Sunday live stream on my channel, but like we need to like these conversations need to happen like all the time. And like I said before, it's not like I'm just coming on here and I just do this and I forget about this. Like tonight, I'm probably going to get on the phone and talk more about these subject matter because, like, that to me is like this is how you're going to solve a problem. Is like you're just going to stick with it, stick with it, stick with it, stick with it, and just keep going, keep going, keep going. And it needs to have like a constant conversation needs to be had around this, and I hope and all I'm doing is having a conversation. I'm learning as well, but the decision makers, I would like to think that they're talking about it all the time. And this stuff is like I'm very very passionate about it, super super passionate about it. And not just that, it's just like Jamaica in general, and the future, the potential, the dream, and encouraging you all and to be a part of that dream and be a part of this nation building like is also very motivational to me and does light me up in a big way. And I want to continue to create more content around this. And the content, when I say content, it could just be us again having this conversation, but bringing in more people to sit down, because I learned so much as well. Like in reading these articles, having these conversations, and I want to bring more discussions like this to the table, because again, I just think there's just so much, an incredible amount of potential here, and want to give more and more young people specifically opportunities. And I think we can create opportunities not only for ourselves, but we can create opportunities for young people and for the next generation. And those opportunities begin with conversations just like this. Shauna says there's a mass exodus happening all over the globe. I think it's a matter of sustainability per individual. The world is shifting / changing literally and figuratively. Yeah, we are shifting, and there's a lot I have to say on this, like, but there's a big shift happening, I think, globally, even from like a superpower perspective. And I don't even think we really I don't think we're made to want to understand like the shift that I believe we're seeing and is happening in front of our eyes, particularly like with the superpowers. Do you anybody else follow oh man, Bridgewater Capital CEO, our former CEO? Somebody help me out. I've read like 3 of his books. Can't believe I'm blanking here. Let's see here. He wrote Principles. Ray Dalio. There we go. Thank you. Yeah, so he's somebody that like Ray Dalio is somebody like I've been following, especially when it comes to like macroeconomics and global macroeconomics. And he's like just such like a student of history. He's a student of financial history as well. And I just like really appreciate his approach because he brings also a lot of like his personal challenges that he has faced with his family and his children to the table. And it just like as a finance person, you don't see a lot of these guys like humanizing themselves. And so like I appreciate that aspect of him. But anyway, he always talks about he's like huge on meritocracy. He's huge on like understanding the financial markets and also like the markets in general from a historical standpoint. And he always says like everything that is going to happen has already happened. He always says this, and he can learn, and he's done this in a very formulaic way of taking the inputs that we have now and predicting the future based on historical data. And he's quantified things that weren't traditionally quantified. So I'm trying to think of an example, but I'm just blanking. My point is, I appreciate his approach to understanding the world, and particularly like the world of finance and economics. And one thing he also talks a lot about is the the shift of world powers, right? And I'm so rusty on this right now. I haven't read his stuff in a while, so I'm just going off from memory. But basically, he in his book, I think it was his first book, I think it was Principles. He talks about how the United States became the world superpower through World War One. Thank you, Dr. Donna Ray Dalio. That's right. And not World War One, World War Two, and we became the world superpower. And basically, generally speaking, over history, a world superpower dynasty lasts about 100 years, and every 100 years there begins to be a shift in who's that superpower. And he gives the example of when he went to China. One of the first times he went to China I think it was in the 70s, the 60s. Let's say the 70s. He went to China, and he was sitting in a meeting, and he had a Texas Instrument calculator with these Chinese corporate execs, and they were blown away at the technology of the calculator. And he was he was saying that to juxtaposition where China is now, and to show how far they have come as a society so quickly, essentially within one generation. Now it also showed how far back they were at that time from a technological standpoint, and even from the standpoint of an economical standpoint. They were not an economic powerhouse like they were back then. And so now China is competing for the world superpower. And from all indications, like it's going to happen. And even and somebody help me out with this again. I'm like really relying on you all. There was a shift in policy in the Biden administration recently to like, man, somebody help me. It's basically there's more of a shift and focus on competing with China, and somehow trying to stop them from being the world's superpower. And it might have been with nuclear not disarmament, nuclear deterrent policy or something of that nature. But the US is incredibly scared about that. And that is like the main threat. And remember that one of the big reasons that Biden had pulled out of Afghanistan was to focus on China. And that's why that thing happened just like that. And it was like, it's horrific how the Biden administration pulled out of Afghanistan. And it became like abundantly clear. Like that was one of the most visual, I would say, for me, clear indications that like, man, the US government is petrified of China. And now, like, let's bring in like from a corporate private sector level, when you look at like how US companies were using China as this manufacturing hub, as we talked earlier. Hey, what's China known for? Manufacturing. Everybody said manufacturing. And so what China has done with that is that they've taken a tremendous amount of the intellectual property that these US based companies were using to produce these products and services, and created their own companies, their own systems. And in Ray Dalio's book, we I would say growing up in the 90s, early 2000s as an American, you're like, oh, that was made in China. Oh, that's a Chinese knockoff. That was like a thing. I don't know if y'all remember that. And maybe even perhaps even to this day. And so now the knockoffs were knockoffs, yes, but now the knockoffs are now becoming the premium primary brand. It's no longer the case. I think DJI is like a huge example of that. Chinese company, it's the number one recreational drone company in the world. Dare I say, even drone operator, period, even commercial from a commercial standpoint. And it's become the opposite. Like they're the innovators. They're no longer the ones who are copying off of the first movers. So another one is another example in the private sector is Starbucks, right? And so Starbucks is premium coffee brand and they're doing pretty bad lately and they're losing market share. And in China was one of their growth markets. And so, but now they're losing market share like crazy in China because the Chinese have their own Starbucks and they have their own coffee shops that are outpacing the they're outpacing the store openings of Starbucks like some crazy amount, like 3 to 1 or something like that. Don't quote me on that, but they're outpacing them tremendously. We recently brought up the example of Tesla, and Elon Musk even recently admitted that BYD, Build Your Own Dreams, is going to surpass Tesla as the number one electric automaker in the world. And and he was saying, he's like, we cannot compete with their volume. Their volume is ridiculous that they're producing these vehicles at. I did a shoot on Friday with BYD here in Jamaica. We don't have Tesla here in Jamaica. Maybe we should. I don't know, but there's no American car maker here in Jamaica, American electric car maker here in Jamaica, and Tesla should have been here, but BYD is here, and we shot a commercial with them on Friday, and we got a couple of other things that we're doing with ATL Automotive with the focus on electric car manufacturers and electric car vehicles of all different models. And so when you look at as with your comment here, Shauna, and we're talking about a shift that's happening in the globe. Man, a lot of people are scared about that, and especially like the American. And I don't know, like, what does that mean? Like, hey, China is the number one economy in the world, and America is number two. Is that going to make lives like not having that number one spot? Is that going to be drastically different? Like American lives, that is. I don't know. We're still outspending America. That is outspending from a military perspective. Like China's number two, I believe, still, but it's like we're like spending double what they're spending or something like that. So it's not even close. So my point is that this is like I agree with you. There is a global shift that's happening, and I think it's something that we need to continue to pay attention to, even as an island nation, because as independent as we are still very much dependent upon definitely the United States in a big way, huge way, from a tourism, manufacturing perspective, from tourism perspective, from a manufacturing perspective, from a remittance perspective. We're still very, very heavily dependent on the United States in a big way. Oh man, it's getting late. We're still going here. All right, let's wrap up these comments here. Lucy says, just like how there are Jamaican American associations abroad, is there a returning Jamaican association? There are returning Jamaican association. No, but there are organizations like JamPro. Like this is more from a business perspective. Like if you're looking to open up a business and make business networking connections, they really help you do that. And there are also some incentives as well that they can help you explore. All right, let's start wrapping up here. Shauna says, I still have my Texas Instruments from from college. I barely use it, but it's still in excellent condition. There you go. Jay Fitz says, the global landscape is changing. People are running to the States, but will eventually find that the U.S. will no longer be the superpower bricks is a real thing. Aaliyah says bricks. End of the petrodollar. Maybe the passport bros movement needs to be angled to the side of the Caribbean, but after a lot of rebranding, these young professionals, some professional and some less skilled, but willing to spend. Yeah, I think that's an opportunity as well, but I think there needs to be not a shift in branding and in the passport bros sort of way. I think there needs to be a shift in how people look at Jamaica, and I think there needs to be like I think of like Tulum. I was watching this video yesterday of this young Black American dude. He was like talking about how he bought his second Airbnb condo in Tulum, and he was very proud of it. Looked beautiful, amazing. He's like, "Hey, this is." I didn't really look into it, but yeah, I can show you how. I can show you how to do it. I don't know if he was trying to sell some course or anything like that. I have no idea. But this is like, I don't hear a lot of that. Or like, I'm not seeing a lot of posts like that about Jamaica. I'm not seeing people see Jamaica as young people, that is, as an opportunity to invest in Airbnb or to do business here or to have a second home here. Like I'm seeing a lot of that in Tulum, like crazy. I'm seeing a lot of it about in Colombia and Medellin. Um, Bali is another place. I see a lot of global content creators going to Bali and setting up shop there. But the perspective of Jamaica, I'm not seeing. At least I'm not seeing the content in that perspective, from that perspective about Jamaica here. What's going on, Chris? Chiming in from Strong Island. Good to see you. Shauna says it's election season and it's like Hunger Games vibes. A lot happening behind the scenes. Absolutely. Jay Fitz says the U.S. is trying to dissuade other countries not to partner with China, but it's happening anyway, especially African countries. Yep, definitely. Saudis have pulled away from the U.S. Aaliyah says, Cyburn says the reason was about the technology, rechip, and semiconductor. Let's see. Kate says those are people who understand the significance of having a vision, but will benefit the entire population. We mostly focus on uplifting individuals. We need to only agree. Sometimes says we need a hashtag for this type of conversation, like so many movements and campaigns do. Basically, the culture needs a PR team, bridging generations and islands together. I like that. That's awesome. Mobay Airport is closed due to a hole in the runway. Again? Didn't this just happen? Hold on, let me see what's going on here. Yep. No. Let me see. If you could send an article on that, Alayla. That happened I know that happened last month. Or a little while ago. Just trying to look it up on Twitter. Oh yeah, seeing it right here. Flight turning back because there's a pothole in Montego Bay runway. That was 3 hours ago. Interesting. All right. Okay, everyone. I'm gonna call it there. It's gone a little longer than I expected. What's going on, Justin? Oh yeah, I don't know how that happened. Hey, at least you hopped on. We're just closing off here. All right, this was a fun one. Sorry we didn't get to the other two articles, but this one we just went in hard on it, and I enjoyed the conversation a lot. This was pretty good. Alila says, "What day are you coming on this week?" I plan on Friday. I plan to come on Friday, but I might. That's actually like a really busy week. If I could squeeze one in, maybe it'll be a short one in the middle of the week. I will, but definitely Friday at 4 o'clock Jamaica time. That's the next scheduled one. And if I could throw in another one to try and get on one of these articles, we'll also do it. Please listen to Shauna. Don't forget to hit the like button on the way out. Definitely helps out a lot. And it says, yes, it was. I stood in there the whole time. Awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Yeah, you were the first person to comment. You've been here over 2.5 hours. Awesome. Nice hanging with you all. Joe says, thanks. Great live. No problem. No problem. Alfonso says, Throp, I was watching a video today and saw 2 mega yachts in Monaco flying the Jamaican flags. And you know what? Yes, because all these yachts get registered in Jamaica because of some sort of maritime advantage. And I believe that you register here, like you pay the people on board, the crew, like the local rate or something like that. Somebody can clear that up for me. But yeah, a lot of, I saw this on, what opened my eyes to this was when Mr. Beast did his like $1 versus like $100 million yacht, and one of the yachts he was on had the Jamaican flag. I was like, that's crazy. Anyway, Justin D says, thanks. Congrats on the 50K. Thank you. Appreciate you all. Yeah, forgot we didn't even talk about that. We have 50,000 subscribers. Awesome. Long time coming. All right, I'm going to call it there, everyone. Have a great rest of your Sunday and have a great week. I will see you on Friday. Peace, everybody.